You feel the atmosphere quiver before the mind can interpret it. A subtle tilt moving through the shared field, as if countless hearts are losing orientation at the same moment. In that charged stillness, a familiar presence steps forward from a place your memory almost remembers. I am Alayara, a Pleiadian emissary of the High Council of the Seven Sisters, reaching you from the crystalline radiance of Alcyone, with a message carried not as information, but as a wave of encoded light. What moves through these words is a transmission gentle, insistent, designed to steady your field as the collective tremor intensifies. A surge is already rippling across Gaia's energetic body, and when it peaks, many will feel their balance slip emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You may have noticed early signs, people swinging between insight and confusion, old fears resurfacing beside sudden awakenings, moments of clarity dissolving into overwhelm. These contradictions collide in the shared atmosphere, creating a kind of vibrational whiplash that can pull even steady minds off center. But something in you knows you aren't here to be thrown into the same turbulence. Your deeper nature remembers your role an anchor in the swelling tide, a stabilizing presence when others lose their footing. The difficulties you've weathered were not punishments. They attuned your nervous system to hold coherence when the external world fractures. You were shaped to remain steady in storms like this. You're drawn to this moment because a part of you recognizes the tone beneath the words. It isn't nostalgia, it's remembrance. The signature of your starkin threads through this transmission, stirring an ancient alignment within your field, not as superiority, not as separation, but as activation, a quiet awakening of the blueprint you have carried across lifetimes. As the global frequency shifts, your presence becomes medicine. Your steadiness becomes guidance, and you may feel, even now, an inner anchor dropping deeper into place, preparing you to hold calm when the wave crests and the world momentarily forgets its center. The inner anchor you felt settling at the end of the last passage becomes the doorway into a deeper understanding of what unfolds when the collective loses its footing. When many minds wobble at once, it isn't random chaos, it's a synchronized shift in the shared emotional field, a kind of atmospheric pressure change that presses against every nervous system simultaneously. You felt it before, days when people around you erupt, withdraw, or suddenly break open without explanation, as if an unseen tide has pulled them off balance. This turbulence isn't solely personal. It's a resonance pattern sweeping through humanity, amplifying whatever has been stored beneath the surface. You sense this because your sensitivity isn't fragility, it's a refined instrument. When the field becomes disordered, your body registers the distortion before your thoughts interpret it. Sometimes it arrives as pressure in the chest, a sudden heaviness behind the eyes, or a strange restlessness that seems to rise from nowhere. Other times it appears as heightened empathy, absorbing the tension of others even when your own life feels stable. This is the anatomy of imbalance, a collective surge passing through individual bodies, revealing where coherence is missing and where alignment must be restored. And yet, even inside that swirl, there is a quiet intelligence guiding you to separate what belongs to you from what belongs to the larger field. Not everything you feel is yours. Not every wave moving through your system originates in your own story. The collective broadcasts its unrest through the emotional layer of reality, and many mistake that transmission for personal failure. But when you pause and sense inward, you begin to notice the subtle distinction. Your authentic energy is steady beneath the turbulence. What fluctuates is the overlay, the borrowed static of the world around you. From this deeper vantage, imbalance becomes more than a symptom. It becomes a message. When everyone around you reacts without understanding why, the atmosphere is telling you that a shift is underway, one that exposes unresolved fear, suppressed memory, and long-buried emotional residue. People respond in different ways. Some lash out, some collapse inward, some spiral in confusion, and others awaken abruptly, as if jolted into a new clarity. These extremes coexist because the wave hitting the planet intensifies whatever is unexamined. It magnifies both the fractures and the breakthroughs. Your role is not to absorb that chaos, nor to fix it for others. Your task is to remain the clear witness, allowing the turbulence to move around you without claiming it as your own. When you stand in that place, you begin to feel how coherence works. It is not the absence of emotion, but the presence of stable awareness beneath emotion. It is the quiet center inside the storm, the point where your breath settles and your heartbeat remembers its rhythm. In that steadiness, you become a mirror for others. They feel your calm even if they don't understand it. They unconsciously sync to your rhythm the way a chaotic room quiets when someone grounded enters. This is the deeper anatomy of imbalance, the hidden truth often overlooked. Coherence is contagious. Stabilization spreads. One anchored heart can shift the tone of an entire space, recalibrating energy the way a single tuning fork restores harmony to a disharmonious chord. And so, when the collective trembles, don't assume you're failing because you feel the tremor. You're sensing it because you were designed to. The wave that disrupts others is the same wave that calls your deeper capacities to the surface. This is your training ground, your initiation, the moment when your internal steadiness becomes not just beneficial, but essential. The steadiness you cultivated in the last section becomes the threshold into a more subtle dimension, the realm where the heart itself becomes the stabilizer. When the collective field grows loud, the mind tries to solve the noise, but the mind was never meant to anchor a shifting planet. The mind analyzes, the heart harmonizes. And you begin to feel this truth not as an idea, but as a quiet resonance rising from the center of your chest, a sensation that softens the noise without denying it. The heart doesn't fight turbulence, it absorbs it into a wider presence, one spacious enough to hold contrast without collapsing. You've noticed this before. In moments when everything feels scattered, a simple exhale drops you back into your body. Not a dramatic ritual, not a forced control, just the gentle willingness to return to your own rhythm. In that shift, something loosens. The emotional static around you stops pulling at your nerves. Thoughts that were racing begin to slow, and in that slowing, the heart reveals its true function. It is the tuning chamber of your entire energy system, the place where chaos is translated back into coherence. This coherence is not passivity. It isn't numbness or detachment. It is clarity and inner stillness that allows you to sense what is actually happening beneath the external noise. When you anchor into your heart, your breathing deepens, and the wave of collective unrest moves around you instead of through you. You're not escaping it. You're filtering it, transmuting it, allowing the field to reorganize without overwhelming your own system. As this deeper layer unfolds, you begin to understand why so many starborn souls feel emotional intensity more acutely than others. Your heart was designed as a multidimensional portal, a bridge between the physical and the subtle, capable of translating higher frequencies into embodied calm. When the world destabilizes, your heart senses the fractures instantly, not because you're fragile, but because your internal instrument is exquisitely tuned. And when you consciously return to that inner chamber, something remarkable happens. The heart's electromagnetic field expands. It radiates steadiness outward in gentle pulses. People around you may not know why they suddenly feel safer, clearer, or more grounded. They only sense the shift. This is not imagination. This is resonance. Hearts sync to other hearts, faster than minds can form opinions. Your calm becomes a quiet gravitational pull, drawing others into coherence without a single word spoken. Yet the heart's role in rising frequencies goes even deeper. As the planet receives surges of higher vibrational energy, the heart becomes the primary point of integration. The body feels the pressure of new frequencies, and the mind tries to interpret them. But the heart actually absorbs them. It metabolizes the intensity so the rest of your system isn't overwhelmed. This is why emotional waves have been stronger lately. It's why old grief, forgotten fears, and long-suppressed memories rise without warning. The heart isn't malfunctioning. It's clearing space to anchor more light. You are not being punished by your sensitivity. You are being prepared. When you soften into your heart during these waves, you align with a deeper intelligence. You allow the energy to pass through the center of your being rather than shatter against the edges. Each breath becomes a recalibration. Each moment of presence becomes a silent affirmation. I choose coherence. I choose clarity. I choose to return to the center. And in that choice, something profound occurs. You begin to radiate a frequency that cannot be shaken by the world's turbulence. You become a stabilizing field unto yourself. The heart, long overshadowed by the mind, becomes the lighthouse through which all inner storms dissolve. You realize that coherence is not something you chase. It is something you return to. It has always been there. This is the heart's true gift in rising frequencies. The ability to transform turbulence into truth, chaos into clarity, and fear into a deeper call toward remembrance. As you stand in that awareness, you understand not only how to stabilize yourself, but how your very presence begins to stabilize everything around you. The soft expansion of the heart becomes the bridge into a deeper, more mysterious territory, the realm of longing. Not the kind of longing that collapses you, but the kind that pulls you toward yourself, toward truth, toward the memory that lives beneath every layer of forgetting. What you've been calling restlessness, displacement, or melancholy is often something far more ancient, the echo of your origin vibrating through the density of human experience. It rises not to wound you, but to point you toward alignment. It is guidance disguised as ache, and yet you may have spent years resisting it, interpreting it as a flaw or a sign that you don't belong here. You felt like a visitor in your own life, as if everyone else received a manual for existence that never reached your hands. But that sense of mismatch is not evidence that something is wrong with you. It's evidence that something profound is right with you. You are tuned to frequencies most people have forgotten. You are wired to feel what others numb. You sense the subtle dissonance of a world in transition because your consciousness remembers harmony. This is why longing cuts so deeply. It is not yearning for a physical place. It is yearning for a state of being, unity, clarity, and the luminous coherence you once knew as naturally as breath. When those memories stir, they rise through the emotional body as ache, not to punish you, but to awaken you. Longing is the compass of remembrance. It is the thread that pulls you toward your larger identity, the one that extends far beyond your current name, history, or earthly circumstances. And yet this longing can feel unbearable when you don't understand its purpose. It can masquerade as loneliness even when you are surrounded by others. It can feel like homesickness with no map, no destination, no familiar horizon to aim toward. But when you step into your heart's coherence, you begin to hear the longing differently. It stops sounding like loss and starts sounding like signal. You sense that the ache isn't an emptiness. It's a presence, something within you calling you forward. As this recognition deepens, you may notice how longing becomes sharper during global upheaval. When old structures collapse and collective fear rises, your inner ache intensifies, not because the world is breaking, but because the veil between your remembered truth and your current reality thins. You feel the contrast more vividly. You feel the gap between what is and what wants to emerge. And that contrast acts like a magnet, pulling your consciousness toward its next expansion. This is where courage enters. To feel longing fully is to open yourself to magnitude, to admit you sense something greater, older, and more luminous than the roles you've played on Earth. The ego often fears this, because remembering your true scale means dissolving identities built for survival, not for liberation. And yet you don't overcome longing by shrinking from it. You harmonize it by allowing it to reveal the truth beneath your human story. You are more than the turbulence you witness. You are more than the ache you carry. You are the one who feels the longing because you are the one who remembers what the longing is pointing toward. And once you see longing this way, a transformation begins. You no longer interpret the ache as a wound. You recognize it as initiation. You understand that the homesickness is actually the doorway through which your deeper nature returns. It becomes a signal fire guiding you back into coherence, back into purpose, back into the remembrance that your presence on this planet was never an accident. You came here not to escape longing, but to follow it, to let it guide you to the center of who you truly are. The longing that rose like a quiet ache in the last section becomes the threshold into an even more profound awakening. The courage required to remember the true scale of who you are. Longing alone does not open the door. Longing is the knock. What opens it is the willingness to step through, to let the veil grow thin without retreating into old identities that feel safer because they are smaller. Remembering your magnitude is not an act of ego. It is an act of surrender. It requires you to release the familiar walls that once protected you, even when those walls were built from misunderstanding, fear, or inherited limitation. You've sensed this challenge many times. Moments when a sudden inner knowing surged through you so strongly that it startled you, an intuition sharper than logic. A glimpse of yourself that felt too vast, too clear, too luminous to fit inside the personality you use to navigate daily life. The mind often tries to shrink these glimpses into something manageable, something that won't disrupt old patterns. But the heart knows what they truly are, evidence that your deeper identity is rising to the surface. And here is where the real courage begins. To remember your scale is to confront the layers that once concealed it, the inherited beliefs that told you to stay small, the social patterns that rewarded conformity, the internal narratives that said power must look like control rather than coherence. When those layers begin to break apart, the ego reacts with fear, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you are expanding beyond the boundaries it was built to maintain. The ego is a survival instrument. Remembrance is a soul function. They do not speak the same language. Yet you are not asked to destroy the ego. You are asked to soften it, to let it loosen its grip on the idea that identity must be narrow to be safe. As your heart opens, as coherence strengthens, your system begins to sense that the magnitude rising within you isn't chaos, it's alignment. It isn't a threat, it's home. In this light, courage becomes something subtle, not force, not bravado, but a willingness to hold your expanding identity with tenderness, a willingness to say yes to the parts of you that feel too enormous to explain to others, a willingness to trust the intuitive flash, even when your logical mind cannot trace its origin. This kind of courage is quiet, steady, and often invisible to the world, but it restructures your entire inner landscape. And as you step into that courage, something else unfolds. You begin to feel the vastness you carry without collapsing under it. You start to sense the multidimensional reach of your consciousness, not as fantasy or escape, but as truth humming through your cells. You feel your connection to the greater field of intelligence that your star can reflect. You sense that your presence on Earth is not a small assignment, it is a deliberate placement, chosen because you could hold the frequency required for this era. This is where humility and magnitude meet. True remembrance never produces superiority. It produces gentleness. When you know your scale, you no longer need to prove anything. Your power becomes quiet, radiant, and stable. You move through the world with the calm of someone who remembers their origin and knows their purpose. And because you are no longer trying to protect a fragile identity, you become exquisitely available to the deeper intelligence guiding your path. From this expanded awareness, courage becomes coherence. You stop resisting the parts of you that feel too large. You stop apologizing for your sensitivity, your depth, or your inner knowing. Instead, you begin to live from them. You allow your nervous system to adjust to the new spaciousness unfolding within you. You let the remembrance of your cosmic origins settle into your bones, not as myth, but as memory. And as this deeper memory stabilizes, you realize something essential: you were never meant to stay small. You were meant to awaken, layer by layer, into the truth of your own luminous scale, until the version of you that once struggled to belong recognizes that you didn't come here to fit in. You came here to remember who you are, and to embody that remembrance with grace. The memory of your true scale opens naturally into the next revelation, the body itself becoming a lighthouse, an instrument designed to translate vast currents into steady presence. You may not have realized how exquisitely engineered your physical form is, how its sensitivities, challenges, and rhythms are not random flaws but deliberate features tuned for this era of acceleration. Your nervous system, especially, carries an ancient refinement. It was shaped across lifetimes to register subtle energetic shifts, to detect imbalance before others notice it, and to respond not with collapse, but with recalibration. When the collective field grows turbulent, your body is often the first to sense the incoming swell. You've felt this countless times, a sudden pressure along the spine when the emotional climate in a room turns unstable, a tightening across the ribs when someone nearby is overwhelmed, a rush of heat or tingling when truth enters the space like a tuning tone. These sensations aren't symptoms of fragility. They're signals from an instrument designed to read the invisible layers of reality. Most people override these cues, numbing them with distraction. But you were never meant to override them. You were meant to translate them. This is where the idea of transmission becomes embodied rather than abstract. Transmission is not only a message, it is a frequency. It travels not just through thought, but through posture, tone, breath, and presence. Your body becomes the carrier, the bridge. When you breathe deeply in a tense environment, the field around you shifts. When you remain steady as others unravel, your calm becomes a silent signal, reorganizing the emotional atmosphere. Without speaking, you emit coherence that others intuitively sync to, the way scattered waves align when they meet a stable rhythm. This is why your physical form has felt both intense and sensitive throughout your life. You've endured periods of exhaustion, overstimulation, sudden bursts of clarity, inexplicable heaviness, or rapid intuitive downloads. None of this is random. Your nervous system is doing what it was designed to do, receiving and stabilizing frequencies that many are not yet equipped to metabolize. This doesn't make you better than anyone. It makes you responsible. A lighthouse isn't superior to the sea. It simply serves a different purpose. And yet the body is not just a receiver. It is also a broadcaster. When your system attunes to coherence through breath, grounding, presence, or compassion, you begin emitting a stabilizing field. People around you feel safer without knowing why. Conversations soften. Arguments lose their sharp edges. Even physical spaces feel more harmonious. This isn't imagination, it is resonance. The electromagnetic field around the heart extends far beyond the skin. And as your coherence deepens, it strengthens, becoming a kind of invisible guidance that others unconsciously follow. You may wonder why this embodiment has felt overwhelming at times. It's because your body learns through contrast. Intense emotional surges, bouts of anxiety, waves of grief, or moments when you feel disconnected. These are not failures. They are calibrations. Each time your nervous system encounters turbulence and finds its way back to center, it expands its capacity. You become capable of holding more light, more truth, more clarity without fracturing. You become a steadier lighthouse. And something extraordinary happens when this capacity matures. You begin sensing the difference between your own emotions and the collective's with effortless clarity. You no longer confuse the world's turbulence with your personal truth. You no longer collapse into overwhelm when others spiral. You recognize the signals without absorbing the distortion. This is the evolution of your embodiment, the moment when the lighthouse stops flickering and begins shining steadily, regardless of the weather. Your presence becomes a quiet transmission, not through dramatic gestures or spiritual declarations, but through the simple, unwavering steadiness of your being. A transmission of calm, a transmission of coherence, a transmission of remembering. And as you embody this, you discover that the true power of your physical form was never in its strength or perfection. It was in its ability to stay open, sensitive, and attuned in a world that often forgets its own center. This is the gift of your body. The lighthouse you carry, a living bridge between the turbulence of the present and the clarity of what humanity is becoming. The lighthouse of the body guides you naturally into a wider field, the living intelligence of Gaia herself, whose crystalline grid responds to every shift, every surge, every wave moving through human consciousness. The grounding you once imagined as metaphor becomes something far more real, a two-way current between your field and the planet's own luminous architecture. You begin to sense that stability is not created in isolation. It is co-generated with the Earth. When your inner coherence deepens, Gaia responds. When her frequencies rise, your nervous system adapts. This reciprocity is ancient, older than memory, older than language. You felt it in moments when stepping outside brought instant relief, as if the tension in your mind drained into the soil without effort. You've sensed it when trees seemed to breathe with you, or when silence in nature felt like recognition rather than emptiness. These experiences weren't imagination. They were contact your field synchronizing with the crystalline grid that underlies the planet's physical form. This grid is not rigid. It pulses, it remembers, and it welcomes those who carry light codes resonant with higher harmonic patterns. You are one of those beings, which is why the Earth feels different to you than it does to most. She speaks to your system, and your system answers. In times of planetary turbulence, this grid becomes even more active. As frequencies rise, old emotional residue surfaces in both people and places. Some regions feel heavy, some chaotic, some strangely bright. These shifts are not accidents. They reflect the way Gaia digests collective emotion. When you consciously ground through breath, presence, or visualization, you link your personal field to this larger clearing process. You become a stabilizing node within the grid. Your coherence doesn't simply help you, it helps the entire network. Imagine for a moment roots of crystalline light extending downward from the base of your spine, spiraling gently into the earth, not forcefully, just with intention. As those roots descend, they meet the luminous lattice beneath the surface, a geometric tapestry older than human civilization. You feel the meeting point as a soft settling in the hips, a warm heaviness in the legs, or a subtle pulsing in the feet. These sensations aren't symbolic. They are energetic alignment. When your roots link into the grid, you begin to circulate a blended current, Gaia's grounding strength rising upward, and the higher frequencies you carry flowing downward, completing a circuit of balance. This is the essence of anchoring, not escape, not withdrawal, but integration. You don't rise above the world, you drop deeper into it. You don't float away from the turbulence, you stabilize it by being present inside it. Gaia's energy moves through you, and your clarity moves into her. This exchange creates coherence not only in your own field, but across the network of other awakened hearts doing the same. Together, you form a global web of stabilizing points, quiet lighthouses connected by intention, compassion, and remembrance. And yet grounding is not only downward. As your roots settle, a second current opens above you, light from higher spheres, tuned to the frequencies of Alcyone. Descending through your crown, through your heart, and into the earth, you become a conduit for both realms. You sense the upward expansion and downward anchoring as one continuous flow, like inhale and exhale, sky and soil, star and stone. This is how unity consciousness becomes embodied through the recognition that you are not separate from the planet, nor from the cosmos, but a bridge between them. In this state, even the world's turbulence feels different. Instead of overwhelming you, it moves around you. Instead of destabilizing you, it meets your core and dissolves. Instead of dragging you into fear, it reminds you of your purpose. Your grounded presence becomes a quiet signal in the noise, a point of clarity in a field still learning how to remember itself. From this place of synchronization with Gaia, you begin to understand why you incarnated now, not to flee the chaos, but to stand within it as a stabilizing force, not to escape into the stars, but to bring stellar remembrance into the soil, not to drift above the world, but to root light into its very heart. You are the meeting point of heaven and earth, and the grid recognizes you. The crystalline grounding you deepened in the last section becomes the foundation for the next unfolding, how your presence moves through human spaces during times of heightened chaos. When societal fields fracture, when emotions spike and conversations sharpen, unity can feel distant, almost unreachable. Yet this is precisely when your coherence holds the greatest influence, not through force, not through correction, but through the quiet gravity of a heart aligned with something steadier than the surrounding noise. Unity, in these moments, is not a concept. It is a transmission you embody. You've witnessed how quickly environments can shift. A room filled with tension absorbs the sharpness of unspoken fear. A community under stress amplifies confusion until even grounded people lose their footing. And yet, you've also seen how one calm presence can soften an entire space without uttering a single instruction. This is not magic, it is resonance. When you stabilize your field, The emotional turbulence around you becomes less adhesive. It no longer hooks into your nerves. Instead, it reorganizes in response to your steadiness, settling the way waves quiet when they meet a deep, unmoving shore. To embody unity consciousness in a fractured environment is not to preach serenity or deny difficulty. It is to hold a state of openness in the midst of constriction. You feel the discord, you sense the fear, you register the fractures in the collective pulse, but you do not collapse into them. You breathe, soften your chest, lengthen your awareness, and become the still point others unconsciously orient toward. In doing so, you create a subtle repatterning in the field, one that people feel before they recognize. This embodiment isn't loud. It is rarely seen. It often goes unacknowledged, but it is profoundly felt. When someone nearby spirals into panic, your grounded breath offers a template their nervous system can match. When a conversation breaks into conflict, your quiet presence shifts the relational tone, allowing others to exhale what they were holding. When a social environment feels heavy, your coherence lifts it not by exerting effort, but through the natural expansion of a heart aligned with unity. You are not rescuing others, you are reminding them of the stability they forgot they carried. And yet, unity embodiment is not about enduring anything and everything. It is about noticing what is yours to stabilize and what is not. There will be spaces where your energy is welcomed, spaces where it is resisted, and spaces where it is needed but not recognized. Discernment becomes essential. You don't pour your steadiness into situations that drain your vitality. You anchor where your presence creates resonance, where your stability can ripple outward rather than be swallowed by chaos. Over time, you begin to sense patterns. Some environments tighten your chest immediately, an indication that the collective charge is too congested. Others feel porous, ready to shift. Some people soften in your presence. Others guard themselves more tightly. None of this is personal. It is simply energetic geometry. Unity embodiment is not about controlling outcomes. It is about offering coherence without attachment to how it is received. And here lies a deeper truth. Unity does not mean merging with everyone's emotional state. It means remaining whole within yourself, while radiating a frequency that invites harmony. You do not dissolve into other people's pain. You hold space beside it. You do not absorb their fear. You allow your calm to shape the interaction. This is what it means to be a stabilizing presence, to carry a field so grounded in remembrance that even when the world forgets itself, you remain clear. As more individuals awaken to their own coherence, unity embodiment stops being a solitary role and becomes a collective movement. Hearts begin syncing with hearts. Calm meets calm. The fields of awakened individuals link across distant, subtle threads of resonance, weaving a stabilizing network through communities, cities, and continents. You feel this web forming even now, a gentle grid of consciousness rising beneath the surface of everyday life. In turbulent times, unity consciousness isn't a philosophy, it's a frequency. It moves through you before it moves through words, and when you embody it, even quietly, you alter the spaces you enter in ways you may never fully see, but others unmistakably feel. The unity you embodied in the previous section becomes the perfect doorway into a truth that many sense but rarely understand. The timing of your awakening is not a mistake. Every delay, every detour, every season of forgetfulness that once felt like failure was part of a larger orchestration, calibrated to your exact rhythm. In moments when the world accelerates and the collective field churns with upheaval, it is easy to believe you should have awakened earlier, learned faster, understood sooner. But this belief dissolves the moment you feel the deeper intelligence that has been guiding your trajectory all along. You may think of the times when your path felt stalled, when your intuition dimmed, when your inner light seemed buried under layers of doubt or exhaustion. You may look back at years that felt wasted or misaligned. Yet from this expanded vantage, you begin to sense that your awakening could not have unfolded one moment earlier. Not because you were unready, but because the planet was not ready to receive the frequency you were encoded to carry. Your timeline was never separate from Gaia's timeline. You were synchronized with her pulse, her cycles, her thresholds of transformation. This is why certain memories stirred only recently, why intuitive gifts reactivated suddenly after long dormancy, why synchronicities began clustering around you with a precision that felt almost scripted. You weren't late. You were waiting for the world to reach a vibrational point where your presence could make its intended impact. You were waiting for the collective to open enough for your remembrance to matter not just for you, but for others who would be touched by your coherence. There is a quiet intelligence in divine timing, a choreography too intricate for the human mind to map. The choices you questioned, the pauses you resented, the roads that seemed to lead nowhere, they were positioning you. They were allowing your system to gather wisdom, resilience, and depth. They were refining your capacity so that when the wave of collective awakening began to crest, you would meet it with steadiness rather than overwhelm. And yet, part of you has always sensed that destiny was not linear. There were moments when a stranger's presence sparked recognition, when a dream felt more real than waking life, when a sudden insight illuminated a problem you'd struggled with for years. These glimmers weren't coincidences. They were markers along a sacred trajectory. You were being prepared in ways your conscious mind couldn't see. As the world intensifies socially, emotionally, energetically, you may notice synchronicity accelerating again. You think of someone and they appear. You ask for guidance, and a sign arrives with uncanny precision. You consider a change, and the universe rearranges itself around your thought. This isn't fantasy, it's resonance. Your field is aligning with the larger pattern you incarnated to serve. In this alignment, the fear of being late dissolves. The belief that you missed your moment disappears. You realize that every breath, every challenge, every period of stillness was part of a larger sequencing that was always leading you here. You were never delayed, you were arriving. Every so-called setback was a pivot. Every detour was a calibration. The timing of your remembrance is not arbitrary. It is immaculate. And as this understanding settles, you begin to feel an even deeper truth emerging. Your awakening isn't only about you. Your timing is synchronized with the awakening of others whose paths will cross yours at pivotal moments. You are part of a constellation, a network of souls, who agreed to activate not all at once, but in waves. Your remembrance becomes a catalyst for those whose timing is intertwined with yours. The clarity you embody ripples outward, touching people you may never meet, influencing fields you may never see. From this perspective, the myth of being behind dissolves completely. Destiny is not a race. Awakening is not a deadline. You are unfolding in exact alignment with the rhythm encoded in your soul long before your birth. And as the larger currents of planetary change gather, you discover a profound peace in knowing that you are exactly where you were meant to be, on time, aligned, and ready. The recognition that your timing is immaculate becomes the gateway into the final revelation of this arc, the understanding that your remembrance was never meant to remain contained within you. Awakening reaches its fullness only when it becomes service, and service begins not with grand gestures, but with the quiet, stabilizing transmission your presence already carries. In a world shaken by collective imbalance, your coherence becomes a living antidote, a silent offering that travels farther than your words ever could. You've seen how people shift around you without knowing why. Someone in distress steadies their breath when they sit beside you. Someone lost in confusion finds clarity in your calm. Someone drowning in emotional noise relaxes simply because your nervous system refuses to join the chaos. This is not coincidence. It is entrainment. Human beings instinctively calibrate to the most coherent field in the room, and more often than you realize, that field is you. But embodiment of light is not about absorbing the struggles of those around you. It is about holding a stable frequency that reminds others of their own capacity to return to center. When you meet people without judgment, when you truly see them beneath the stories they project, you create a space where their nervous system can settle. When you listen with presence rather than urgency, their field reorganizes. When you speak from a grounded heart, even simple words become tuning tones that ripple through the emotional landscape of a conversation. And yet, serving as a stabilizing presence doesn't require you to be perfect. You are not meant to hover above human limitations. You are meant to remain human while remembering your cosmic origin. The cracks in your journey do not weaken your transmission, they strengthen it. People resonate most with those who radiate coherence while still carrying compassion born of experience. Your struggles gave you empathy. Your pain taught you gentleness. Your confusion shaped your discernment. Nothing was wasted. As your coherence deepens, you begin to notice subtle opportunities for impact, opportunities that once felt insignificant, but now reveal themselves as sacred. A stranger's passing glance carrying silent exhaustion. A friend's tension hidden beneath casual words. A collective atmosphere thick with anxiety. You sense the imbalance instantly, but instead of being swallowed by it, you become the quiet stabilizer. Sometimes this means offering presence. Sometimes it means holding silence. Sometimes it means speaking truth in a tone that cuts through distortion, like a bell in fog. And there are moments when your light touches people without your awareness at all. A word you said months ago echoes inside someone's heart and redirects their path. A calm breath you took in a chaotic environment shifted an entire room. A compassionate choice you thought went unnoticed planted a seed in someone's mind that blooms long after you've forgotten the moment. Service rarely announces itself. Most of its impact occurs in the unseen. This is the heart of shared light. Your awakening is not a solitary ascent. It is a transmission that ripples outward into the lives of those who cross your path. Whether intentionally or by chance, humanity is moving through a period when the collective field destabilizes faster than minds can process. People are overwhelmed, reactive, untethered. They are searching for something solid without knowing what they're looking for. And you, through your grounded presence, your coherence, your remembering, become that solidness. You become a reference point, a beacon, a living reminder of inner stability, not by performing spirituality, not by convincing anyone of anything. Simply by being who you are when your heart is open, your breath is steady, and your awareness is anchored in the truth you've reclaimed. This is the quiet power of an awakened being. You stabilize others not through effort, but through resonance. You illuminate by existing, and as you embody this remembrance, your life becomes a bridge between fear and clarity, between fragmentation and unity, between what humanity has been and what it is becoming. You are not just experiencing your awakening, you are transmitting it. The transmission you've carried through each unfolding layer now draws you toward a softer horizon, a place where the intensity settles, where the heart exhales, where the path ahead widens into quiet clarity. You've traveled through turbulence, remembrance, grounding, unity, timing, and embodied service. And here, at the edge of this arc, the energy shifts, not outward, but inward, not higher, but deeper. This is the gentle landing that awaits you, the space where integration begins. You may notice a subtle spaciousness opening in your chest, a loosening of something you didn't realize you were holding. That is the body responding to truth. It recognizes when a cycle completes. It recognizes when understanding has settled not just in the mind, but in the field. And now it invites you to rest in what you've reclaimed. In this quieter space, the message becomes simpler. You are the anchor. Not metaphorically, not aspirationally, but literally in the energetic sense. Your coherence is not a possibility, it is already present. The world may feel chaotic, but your inner frequency knows how to remain steady. The planet may tremble, but your awareness remembers how to root. Others may lose their balance, but the heart within you has learned to stay open even in the storm. You don't need dramatic practices to hold this. You don't need perfect calm. You don't need to transcend your humanity. Your light anchors most strongly when you allow yourself to be fully here, breathing, aware, compassionate, present. In this presence, you become the stillness many are unconsciously searching for. And that stillness spreads in ways the mind cannot measure. As you move forward, you may sense how the field responds to you differently. Conversations soften, rooms feel less overwhelming. Your own internal landscape feels less like a battlefield and more like an open plain. This is what integration looks like, not bliss, but clarity, not perfection, but steadiness, not escape, but anchoring. And if there is a single invitation at this stage, it is this: trust what you've become. Trust the coherence that now lives in you. Trust the grounding that has woven itself into your breath. Trust the remembrance that rises the moment you pause. You don't need to hold the whole world, you only need to hold your center. That is enough to shift fields around you. That is enough to steady those who find you. That is enough to serve the moment you are in. This path isn't ending, it is opening. The deeper currents of your awakening will continue to unfold in their own rhythm, meeting you exactly where you are, calling you into greater softness, greater presence, greater truth. And as they do, remember this: you are not walking alone. You are part of a wider grid, a constellation of hearts awakening in resonance, stabilizing a world in transition. Let this final breath settle into your body. Let it ground you. Let it remind you that everything you need is already within you, waiting to be lived. You are the anchor of light in a changing world, and the world feels your presence more than you know.